So this little slideshow is just a form of reference for you guys to check in and see where you are in the process and what you should be doing next anytime you want to work on your project outside of class time. So our character design process has 7 stages. They're choose an idea, research, shape sketching, which is also known as thumbnails, expressions, poses, colors, and then you put it all together. So looking at ideas, this is an example from the book where they use a sort of mind mapping diagram to start with the main idea of Alien Explorer, and then they branch off into other aspects such as personality or, the clothing, the futuristic tech, or what is this alien going to look like, since there's a big difference between, say, like Spock, the Vulcan from Star Trek, and, Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. They're both aliens, but they're very, very different. So there's some ideas that need to come on what kind of alien it'll be, and this artist chose that it would walk on 2 legs and have an expressive face, maybe be reptilian or amphibian, or maybe have some primate elements. So this is where you just jot down your ideas, and you don't have to judge whether they're good ideas or bad ideas. These are just ideas that you may or may not use. You can call it your idea bank or your idea tree, and you don't have to use every single thing. So your ideas can come from a lot of places, but they should come from things that you enjoy, because if you don't like science fiction, why would you make a science fiction character? Since you're not being paid for this is for your own enjoyment, you need to like it. So if you like, girly princess, magical girl type genre, then do something with that. If you like food, do something with food. If you like cats, do something with cats. So whatever you like is what you should be basing your character on. Another thing you can try if you're struggling for an idea is just think of a character that you like. So let's say you really, really like Luke Skywalker. So how can you take what you like about Luke Skywalker and put your own spin on it? So for instance, you can say, okay, I really like that he has, a really cool sword. And I like that he gets to travel in outer space. I mean, you start breaking it down to those things that you can use for your character and not necessarily copy Luke Skywalker exactly. Then, remember, you have to be having fun. If you're not having fun with your character, after you get to steps, 2 or 3, you start thinking, this isn't that fun. I don't really like where this character is going. Don't be afraid to come back to this stage. Don't be afraid to start over and go back to the ideas and go back to what you really enjoy doing. After you have an idea, you'll be doing your research. This is where you will go out and find shapes. Shapes are the most important thing. Research is a vague term, and you can get lost in the details of what kind of swords did they have in the Dark Ages versus in the Middle Ages and things like that. But really, you're looking for shapes. So shapes can come from animals. The artist that's doing the Alien Explorer used a lot of different animal references from the primate elements that they mentioned, and then amphibian and reptilian, and even got some insects to look at different sort of exoskeleton type shapes. So you're going to make this shape bank. You've already made your idea bank in step 1. This is like your shape bank that you're going to be using. And you'll use those shapes in the 3rd stage, which is your thumbnailing stage. So this example shows that the primate body that was wide shoulders on top and a small pelvis is being used in almost every single one of these sketches. So I don't want you to feel like you have to change everything for each sketch. You're going to use those shapes that you researched. You spent so much time researching them, you're going to use them. But you do want to change something, at least one thing, maybe 2, in each variation so that you can start seeing which one you like the best. So as you can see from this one to this one, what's mostly changing is like the eyes and the placement of like the appendages on the head. This one got a bigger jaw. This one looked a little more frog-like, and you can see the differences in the lower limbs as well. This one even says, should it be like a gibbon body having these really lean legs, or having something that's thicker on the lower part of the leg. So those are the things that are changing from variation to variation. And once you have, maybe 5 to 10 little doodles like this, then you can proceed. But make sure that you do draw the full body. A lot of times we get caught up in just the face and making the face look good. And yeah, it's fine to do a couple of face sketches until you find the one you like. But we do need to know what the whole body looks like. So don't be afraid of just doodling out the whole body. After that, you're going to move on to expressions, and this is where you get to really have fun with the face and see what your character's personality is like. We're going to do 3 to 6 facial expressions for this project, and I feel like there is a sort of level of difficulty when choosing which emotions to do. If you do very different emotions like happy, sad, and mad, it's a little bit easier in my opinion just because you have more room for error. That if you don't draw the eyes exactly the same, it's okay because the expressions are so different, they're going to change the shape of the eyes anyway. Where if you want a little bit more of a challenge, you can choose one emotion and just draw the intensity of that emotion changing. So maybe first they're just a little ticked off, a little annoyed, and then they're getting madder, and then they go into full set rage. That one is going to be easier to compare if you're drawing your character the same each time because the emotion is more similar. Then what's the most difficult is to give a performance, to have that character change from a smile to a frown, or from, a grimace to a half-hearted smile or something like that. It's an acting performance that you would see in like an animated movie or such, and it's really the hardest to do. And if you want to try it, go for it, but just don't be disappointed if it ends up being too difficult, because it is the hardest level of expressions. So again, we're going to be drawing 3 to 6 facial expressions, and which level of difficulty is up to you. Stage 5 is posing. Keep in mind this is still doodling, and you can't actually do this step until you've completed step 3, so that you can for sure know your shapes that you can pose in this stage 5. So even though a lot of characters share the same actions, like walking and running and sitting and things like that, most of the time they will do it differently. If you can remember the Scooby-Doo kids, Fred and Daphne and Velma and Shaggy, all of them walked differently. They had a different motion set. All of them ran differently. So that helped to distinguish their characters. So when you're drawing your character, if, let's say, they're overweight, they might lean back rather than leaning forward. There's changes that'll happen depending on your character's physique and their personality and all those things. So start doodling and seeing what kind of seems right for your character. And if you're not sure what actions to do, go back to what you wanted your character's hobbies or interests to be. So if your character is studious and likes to read, go ahead and do reading poses. Just because these are called action poses doesn't mean you have to actually do dynamic, high energy poses. Sitting and reading is still a pose. So you can do what your character likes. If they like to explore or if they like to eat, draw them eating. What are they eating? Is it lots of ice cream and donuts and sweets, or is it more like lasagna and pizza? That would be a change or a difference in your character's preferences. And then once you have, maybe 3 to 6 poses, you can choose your favorite one, or you can just, cross out the ones you don't like to use the process of elimination to get to the pose for your final design. I believe the artist chose this third one down here as the final pose for his design. After you've done poses, we're going to kind of take a detour and go over into color. Even though color is really complex, or it can be a really complex subject, and there's a lot of color theory and this and that, and you're supposed to do this, we're just going to keep it simple for this project, and we're going to use a 3-2-1 system. So what's going to happen is you're going to choose 3 colors from one side of the color wheel, either on the cool side or on the warm side. And you just choose 3 colors that you like. Then you're going to choose 2 more neutral colors being like grays or browns, black or white. And you'll choose usually grays if you're going for cool colors, and usually browns if you're doing warm colors. So you choose 2 of those, And then you'll choose one color from the opposite side of the color wheel to use sparingly, not all over. It should just be kind of that pop of color, that little accent to make it interesting. So here's some examples from the book. Again, these are all different color sets. This is not the same, same 3 or 4 colors used over and over in different ways. These are new choices. So this one, had a lot more greens where this one didn't. And this one had the kind of purpley pink that, this one didn't. So you can use different color palettes, and in fact, you are supposed to use different color choices for each variation. The problem with drawing traditionally is this part where you need to try to make a copy of your drawing and you might not have the equipment to do that electronically. So old school way is you just trace your character's thumbnail, just really roughly, 3 to 6 times on a new piece of paper by taping them up on a window so that you can trace and see through your paper. Or if you happen to have a light table, you can do it that way as well. But again, we're not going for detail. We're going for really basic shapes, basic color blocks. After that, time to put everything together and your character will be born. So you're going to use your facial expression, your pose, your colors, your shapes that you chose from your research, all to make your own character. And you might think that's the end, but remember, the long-term project for this class is a character packet, and the character packet is basically a record of how you made your character. It's like your baby album for your little brainchild here. So you're going to include everything, even that page that just has your ideas written on them, your research. And this research, if you just Google searched for some images, that's fine. You can just use the actual photographs. You don't have to redraw all of them, though I would recommend it. It's a good way to practice your shapes. But you're just getting your image collection, your thumbnails, your expressions, your poses, your colors, and then your final image of your character. To preserve your character packet or to present it, you have a number of options also. If you don't want the extra stuff in your bookcase, you can use a digital slideshow the way I am today. You can use a scrapbook and you can just tape in your drawings and research and that into a scrapbook, and that's a nice way to keep all the information. Or you can slip them into a binder or portfolio and save it that way as well. The end? Creating a character is amazing and it's super fun, and I'm really glad that you guys are joining me in this class. But is it the end or is it the beginning? I would hope that you would take your skills that you learned from this class and start thinking about the other characters that populate your original character's world, that no story is really told with just one character. So you can start thinking about your characters' family and friends or enemies or teachers, and just populate your character's world with other relationships and other characters. And it's super duper fun. And then you're on your way to making your own webcomic. But that is a class for another time.